Hi guys, welcome back to a fan favourite on my channel of What If Goku Was Sent to the MCU, where last time we saw the events of Age of Ultron and our young hero learning of his alien heritage, causing a strain on Goku and Clint's relationship. Now, we join our hero, training up some new recruits. Only a few weeks have passed since the battle against Ultron. We see the scene playing out once again. We see Goku watching himself as a child being placed into a pod, before waking up in the middle of the night, scanning around the room, catching his breath. This memory has been somewhat haunting Goku, since Wanda has shown him it, and now he's up, he knows he won't get back to sleep, so he heads off, going to do some training in a bit of a training room, where he begins his normal daily routine of working out, and eventually is joined by Cap, who gets up early himself, and has gotten really used to seeing Lee up this early. He asks the kid if he's having trouble sleeping, with Goku nodding, as Cap asks if he needs to take some time away from the team, just to find himself or get some good rest. But Goku shakes his head, explaining how he wouldn't know what to do. Besides, how would they survive without him? Cap laughs a bit before saying that they would be just fine, before Goku starts mockingly reminding Cap that he was the reason that Ultron didn't get the scepter, and then he managed to hold on to Ultron long enough to shut him down. With Cap nodding his head in agreement, as the two begin a bit of a spar. With Goku having grown so much over time, he's actually stronger than Cap now and can most of the time win in a battle against him. Now, after a bit of training, the pair head off to go eat, where we see the rest of our heroes. The moment Goku enters the room, Petro waves down Lee. Goku runs over to go sit with his new friend, as the pair sit down to eat. The pair had gotten really close over the few weeks. Petro is thankful for Lee helping him, while Goku finds Petro super interesting, and with his speed and weird sense of humour, they are kind of just super close friends. Now, this isn't just a duo though, it's also a trio thanks to Wanda. They are also part of this friend group, and Wanda truly finds Goku interesting. Thanks to being able to read his mind and thoughts, she can tell he's a good person deep down, to his core. However, he does hold somewhat of a dark side to him, but it seems to have mostly been buried throughout the years, and the longer it goes on, the more it's suppressed. She's also super grateful for Goku saving her brother after learning that. She thanked him a lot, and Lee openly responded that she doesn't need to thank him, it's his job to save people, and he also has siblings and couldn't imagine losing them, so he was always going to save him. The trio have become relatively close in such a short time, and the fact they are all the same age and have incredible powers does help out a lot. Now, Wanda has started helping Goku live through the vision she gave him, hoping to see if they can find more information out about the Saiyans, or just anything as a whole, and they often spend a bit of their day doing this, as Wanda goes through it all with Goku in much more detail. Goku gets to see a small part of his home planet, and seeing how advanced the race was, for the most part. They had some primitive homes, but some of the tech they were using seems amazing. Over the weeks, Wanda has managed to help clear up some of the patchy parts of his memory. Goku can see a bit more of his home planet now when they do some vision training, and he can actually see a bit more of the attack which was clearly happening. And after multiple weeks, they sit down one day to do their training like normal, and the moment they enter, Wanda believes she can actually clear the black covering the people that were saving Goku, giving them a face or possibly even a name to work with. And after a small wave of the hand, both Wanda and Goku get a good look at the people who saved him when he was a baby. And instantly, while staring down these people, they both know who they are. Straight away, they can identify both of them as Goku's parents. This causes the Saiyan to freeze and stare at the memory of his birth parents. And he grins briefly before feeling sad. He sits there thinking about Laura and Clint, and this leaves Goku feeling very confused. Wanda can feel this, and almost instantly stops their training. With the pair coming to in the room, Petro is sat down and sees them come too, wondering why they finished so fast. As Wanda doesn't respond, asking Lee if he's alright. Lee says he's fine, as Petro catches on. He can tell Goku is lying and tells him there's no point in doing so. She can read his mind and his thoughts, so you might as well tell the truth. Goku laughs slightly at his friend as he explains that he doesn't know how to feel. In his heart, Clint and Laura are his family and parents, but he also wants to know more about the people who he just saw. Wanting to know why they sent him to this planet, or just their names, would help him. Wanda says that maybe it will come to him after some more training. As Petro says, or whenever Thor is to show up and take him to the home planet, Goku agrees and sees these both as logical possibilities, but he asks if he could just take a small break from the training. The pair obviously allow this, and Goku heads off to be alone for a short while. He's got a lot going through his head right now. He figures that maybe going for a walk in the surrounding forest will help clear his brain a bit. After all, this helps him feel like he's at home, playing in the forest with his mother, and it puts a smile on his face as he relives some of those earlier childhood memories, back before he knew he was an alien. As hours pass, night begins to fall, and he realises that it's almost midnight, and he should probably head back home, back to the base. He takes a look into the sky, where he sees something he's never seen before in his life, a full moon. He looks up at it and can't help but stare, thinking how beautiful it is, and actually smiling. But then everything goes black, and the next thing the Saiyan knows is he wakes up hours later, in the middle of a forest in a giant crater. Surrounding him are his teammates and Tony. With him taking a few seconds to look around, confused, he's asked why everyone's got their weapons pointed at him, and how they got all so beat up, as the group holds still. But Wanda and Natasha both quickly look away from the boy, so Wanda tells her brother to grab Goku some trousers. As the boy runs off and shows back up, throwing some clothes towards Goku, who quickly changes, Tony finally drops his arm, asking if that is really Goku. The kid nods, asking why are they out here, and how come it's daytime all of a sudden. As everyone just looks gobsmacked, Tony asks if the boy remembers anything from the last 6 hours. Goku just shakes his head, as he explains that he just saw the full moon and must have passed out or something. He doesn't know. Tony tells the boy that they have spent the last 6 hours fighting a giant monkey, and once the moon disappeared, the boy shrank down, becoming, well, him. Goku looks shocked, asking for Tony to say that again. However, Steve walks towards the kid, asking if he seriously doesn't remember anything. Goku nods his head, as Cap explains how at some point after midnight, they realised that he was missing, so they sent Petro out looking in the forest for him. But when he didn't find Goku, he found a giant ape, or a big monkey-like creature, rampaging just throughout the forest and causing a lot of destruction, heading towards the base. Of course, Pedro rushed back to the base, where the group at first didn't believe him. However, after hearing a beast-like roar and checking some security footage, they saw the beast and called in for some help from Tony. They then began fighting off the giant monkey, with the battle happening for hours. None of them were able to hurt the great ape. However, during the fight, Wanda managed to summon up a huge amount of power and pinned the monster down for an hour or two, buying the group a lot of time. And soon, when the sun rose, the monster shrunk down into Goku. And Lee just stands looking confused and worried. He finally gets to see the extent of the injuries his teammates have taken, and things slowly start to click that all the injuries they have were inflicted by him. The boy begins to profusely apologise, heading towards everyone to help them. Some of the group make a step backwards, and Goku, seeing this, looks upset, as Wanda speaks up saying how Goku wasn't in control at any point during the rampage. In fact, it was nearly impossible for Wanda to sense the Saiyan inside the monster. The only reason she did is because she's been inside his mind so much. If it wasn't for that, she would have never connected the two dots. Natasha also says that Goku wouldn't actively hurt any of them. She's known him since he was quite young, and knows that he's a kind-hearted kid. With the girls smiling weakly towards Goku, as Wanda passes out, Petro catches his sister as everyone goes towards her, checking if she's alright. Petro explains that she's probably just drained from using her psionic abilities so much, and just needs a bit of rest. She's never had to use them on such a large creature in such an intense rate. It's probably just drained her. Everyone sighs in relief as Goku heads towards both Rhodey and Sam, helping them stand. Both a bit apprehensive, after all these two know Goku the least, but they do accept the help. And after a very quiet walk back to the base, with Pedro rushing off with Wanda to get her checked in, everyone else gets back to the base. Everyone's placed in the medical bay, except for Goku, who just goes and sits in his room, feeling guilty and unsure of what to do. However, after a short few hours, he gets a knock on the door as Pedro walks in and scans his friend up and down, asking if he's alright. Goku doesn't respond, as Pedro walks over, saying how he shouldn't worry. Neither he or Wanda blame him for his injuries, and he's pretty sure the rest of the team don't either. They were just scared. Goku speaks up, saying that he isn't in the mood to talk. Pedro nods, before throwing a phone into the room, saying his parents are on the line, wanting to talk to him. Goku looks at Pedro, who's already left his room and shut the door. Goku picks up the phone, saying hello, and begins to hear his siblings shout back hello, catching him off guard. Goku can't help but smile hearing all of them as they begin to argue at who should get to talk to Goku first, before then hearing Clint and Laura tell his siblings they can speak to Goku briefly. As Laura starts to pick up the phone, she checks in on her son, asking if he's well, he's been eating right, bathing enough, and what's this she hears about a giant monkey. Hearing his mother's voice, Goku couldn't help but smile, but after getting asked about the incident last night, his smile fades. He explains how he doesn't know why or how, but he hurt his friends and doesn't have any explanation for what happened. Laura doesn't waste a minute. She knows her son, saying that he's a good kid and wouldn't hurt someone who he cares for, hence why she believes him to be an amazing hero. Goku takes this in, but doesn't feel much better, and Laura can tell, as she speaks up saying that Goku, if he truly feels bad, and truly feels like he hurt everyone, that the best way to make himself feel better, and gain his confidence back, and his friends' trust, is to go help all of them get better, showing them that he is still himself, and that he is still an amazing hero. With Goku thinking about this, he sees it to be a good idea, telling his mother he might give it a try. Laura tells her son that she's proud of him, and whenever he feels up for it, to call up again. There's clearly something else he wants to ask. She knows when he wants to say something. As Goku begins to pick himself up, he hears his siblings shouting towards him, as he walks around his room talking to his younger siblings, and even a little bit to Clint, before heading off, after hanging up, and heading towards the medical bay, where he spends the rest of his day helping out around the bay, trying to keep people's spirits up, making jokes, helping with any medical care that needs to be done. And at first the group are a bit wary, however, thanks to Goku's persistence and his push, he does start helping out. At first it's only Petro, Wanda and Widow, however Cap and Tony soon take the boy's help, and at the very end, Rhodey and Sam do. The pair don't know Goku all that well, but they've seen that he's a pretty good kid, and will accept the help. This starts to rebuild the two's trust in him, and the others already had a decent amount of trust in him themselves, and they clearly can understand that he truly didn't want to hurt them. 2 days after the attack, and most of the group are back up to full health. Wanda is the only one still recovering. After all, she used a lot of strength and actually took a few injuries from the battle. Goku, feeling guilty about everything, still sits in the medbay with her, spending his full day there, only ever leaving to train for a small period of time, with Petro also spending most of his time in the medbay with them. All three eat in there, hang out in there, and of course Petro and Goku briefly leave to train, but they come back very shortly. The group are having a pretty good time, to be fair, and when a mission shows up, the team starts to get ready to assemble. The likes of Wanda is still ill and can't really go on the mission, still not back to 100%. Alongside this, both Natasha and Steve think it's for the best that Goku sits this fight out. It's only a short mission and they should only be gone for 2 days most. After all, he has got some powers they don't understand at the moment, and Tony will be here in a few days to do some exams to try and figure out what caused it. They do have some theories already, but they do just want to test and make sure everything is okay. So Goku is told he has to stay off this mission, which he's mostly fine with. After all, he understands that at the moment he is essentially a time bomb. If that was to happen again, there's no knowing what could happen. And he is upset he's going to miss out on a possibly good fight, but he understands why. So the moment the other team leave, Goku heads over to the medical bay. He wants to apologise one-on-one to Wanda. After all, she got the most hurt from it, and he wants to make sure that she understands he truly is sorry. And just before he can even get the words out, Wanda tells him to shut up. She's not sad, she's not angry, she doesn't distrust him. And she's just getting annoyed at him for keeping to apologise. She tells him to stop, and she understands he didn't want to hurt her. And she's only as damaged as she is because she held him down for 2 hours, which she was fairly impressed in herself for doing. Goku thanks Wanda for having his back, as the pair spend the rest of their time together, just hanging out, with Wanda being allowed to leave the medbay the day after the group had left. With everyone better and the group away, Goku decides to make a private call home, where he's greeted by the voice of his father, who asks how the kid's been doing. He had heard about the events through not only Natasha but also Laura, and he just wants to hear how his son's doing. Goku says how he's doing a lot better, he just can't shake the feeling like he's dangerous. Clint tells him that he's a good kid and wouldn't hurt anyone, so don't worry too much. Now, why is it he called? Goku explains that he wants to speak to him and his mother. Clint, confused but agreeing, seeing no harm, as Laura comes to listen as Goku is put on speakerphone. None of the other kids are left in the room after Goku asks for them to just have a private conversation. With Goku explaining how he's been doing training with Wanda and had been going through a lot over the last few weeks, and recently he's learned a bit about his race, a bit about the planet he was born on, but more importantly, learnt the name and the faces of his birth parents. This causes the pair to go quiet as Goku goes on to say that he knows a little bit but wants to know more, but he feels as if he's rejecting everything they have done for him, which isn't true. Clint and Laura will always be his parents. They are the people who raised him, made him who he is today. But he finds wanting to learn more about his race, his family, and his people really important to him. And he just wanted to explain this to them so they didn't feel like he was rejecting them. Clint and Laura stay quiet for a few moments before Clint speaks up, saying that they have no issue with him learning more about his family. It's his right, after all, to learn as much as he wants, and explains that if things don't go how he wants them to, if the family aren't what he needs them to be, they'll always be here for him. Laura repeats this, telling him to do his best, but to visit home soon. Goku smiles, thanking both of his parents, before telling them that he will stop by soon, and hangs up. It puts a smile on Goku's face knowing that both Clint and Laura have got his back, and are allowing him to learn more about himself. After hanging up, he heads off to spend his day with Wanda. The two just mess around in the base, and soon the rest of the team arrive back at the base. After a successful mission, everyone is unharmed, and they are happy to see the two kids again, with things going back to somewhat normality. With one small change. For the next month, Goku finds himself being experimented on slightly by Tony. The scientist tries to figure out what caused the change, and after a month of testing, prodding, and some experiments, he figures out that the thing that caused the change was the full moon. It seems to turn the boy into some giant creature, and it must be something that his race can do, maybe a survival tactic. Tony finds it interesting, but can't see the logic in it. Maybe his race can control it, and because he's not been trained by them, he can't. There's a lot of different factors which go into it. However, the one good thing to come out of this is the fact that Goku is now mission ready again. They have no issues with sending him out, thanks to them now knowing what causes his transformation. But the Saiyan is now wanting to learn more about his race, so Goku begins to count down the days until Thor's arrival. After all, he did promise to show him his home planet, and he doesn't mind how much time it takes for Thor to show up. A lot of time passes, and the group are gearing up to head out on another mission. But that's when the base announces something. The arrival of Thor, who lands down back where he first left a couple months back, almost a year. Thor seems different. As the group approach, they all greet him, asking how he's been doing. Thor doesn't respond, keeping a good look on the ground below him, asking Goku if he wants to be taken to his home planet. Goku, of course, nods his head, saying yes, he does. He's been waiting for Thor to show up. as Thor then asks if he's truly sure. Goku's confused, but tells Thor he does want to go. Thor tells him to grab hold of his shoulder then. As Goku goes to do it, Cap tells the kid to go on as they can handle the mission and wishes him good luck. Goku thanks Cap and then turns to Thor, grabbing a good grip of his shoulder, saying he's ready, as Thor says sorry. Before Goku can ask anything though, the Bifrost opens as they begin to travel. Goku is confused, however after a moment has passed, they arrive on a planet. Goku's face lights up briefly as he looks around and it begins to change into fear. All around him is a ruined city and skeletons lining the streets. Goku asks where they are, as Thor explains that they are on planet Vegeta, the home of the Saiyans. Or at least, it was the home of the Saiyans. Something killed them all off. Thor spent a week searching the planet, didn't find anyone. He doesn't know what happened, or who showed up, but they must have been strong to take out the Saiyans. Goku looks around, kind of panicking, and soon he begins to fly off. Thor is unsure of where the kid is going, but follows. After he asks Goku where he's going, as Goku explains he's searching for survivors, there's got to be one that Thor missed. But Thor tells the kid that he's already looked, and there's no one. But this doesn't matter. Goku just begins to fly faster, as Thor chases after him. The pair spend the better part of a day searching this planet. Luckily, there's still food, and things do work, so they can eat, but they didn't ever stop. After searching for a full day, Goku lands, tired, and somewhat scared. Thor goes to comfort the kid, but Goku is in his own mind. He's trying to figure out what killed them, and when it happened. As he remembers back to his vision, he sees something familiar. The house he is pulled out of when he's a baby. Goku sits there, reliving that moment, then standing up and rushing off in the direction he was taken as a kid, using all the training he and Wanda had gone through to retrace his steps, and it's working. He runs past the giant Leviathan body, and soon arrives in an open area, with nothing in it but a massive scorch mark along the earth in a line. The Saiyan sees this, and begins to look around. He's confident this is where he last saw his birth parents. As he lands near the scorch mark, he sees two bodies, and armour surrounding the skeletons. He knows that armour, that is the armour of his birth parents. As he sits and looks at them, it triggers something from the past. Something that had been blocked just a few seconds prior. In all of Wanda's training, she couldn't even unlock this. Goku relives his last moments with his parents. As he's about to be sent off into space, he hears a voice that he had never heard in one of his memories before. As his baby self looks past his parents and sees a giant purple man holding a giant double-bladed sword. Bardock shouts out at Gine, saying to get Kakarot out of here, as Gine shakingly nods her head as she begins the launch sequence, while Goku watches his father charge up a massive blue orb of energy. Then he fires it off towards the purple man. The giant man easily blocks it, using his sword to rotate the beam away from himself and begin to walk towards the Saiyans. Bardock screams out to die. As Gine finishes the final steps of the launch, she shouts out to Bardock, saying it's done. Bardock shouts out to get their son out of here, as Gine begins to launch Goku into space, wishing him the best of luck. Goku slowly raises into the sky. However, he manages to cast the last few minutes of his parents' life, as he sees the purple man impale his father on a sword, and then grab his mother by the throat, beginning to crush down on her windpipes. The young Saiyan and the purple man lock eyes for but a second, as Goku screams out, letting a giant explosion rip out of his body. Goku comes to see what he had done, making a massive crater where he once was. Thor lands near the boy, asking if he's okay. Goku shakes his head. He explains that some purple alien did whatever happened to the Saiyans, and he now remembers everything quite clearly. the invasion on Earth a couple years back, it was the same creatures. There was a much bigger amount of them, but it was definitely the same army. Or at least a very similar one. Thor had kind of figured this out after seeing the Leviathan, but if Goku knows for sure, that helps try to figure out who it was. Thor tries his best to comfort the boy, but the pair stay silent for a while. After a few moments have passed, Goku asks Thor to share everything he can about the Saiyans. The God of Thunder is shocked, but he tries his best to give any information he can. He explains how they were a warrior race who lived for the thrill of combat. They were conquerors for many years, going planet in planet in search of a good fight and destroying the inhabitants of the planet. However, a couple hundred years ago, the Asgardian gods found the Saiyans. Both sides had finally found somewhat of a match. The Saiyans and the gods became allies in a way. They lived to fight one another. For an Asgardian, beating Saiyans were pretty trivial. But, for a Saiyan that could defeat a god was almost unheard of, and was actually almost a coming-of-right story. Being able to survive a battle against a god meant you were ready for combat. There was only ever one Saiyan who managed to stand up and beat a god. He managed to beat his father Odin, and this Saiyan was something Thor can't remember. The details are blurry, but he does remember one thing. The Saiyans called it a Super Saiyan, someone that managed to challenge the gods themselves, and in fact were able to surpass them with ease. But only one has ever existed. Goku can't believe what he's hearing and asks for more information, anything Thor can share, but the God of Thunder draws a blank. He does have an idea of how to get Goku a bit more information, but he's not 100% sure if he'll be allowed. Goku begs Thor to at least try, as Thor tells Goku to grab hold of them, as the pair reuse the Bifrost, but this time arriving at Asgard. Thor tells Goku to wait, as Thor disappears for a short while. Well, Goku has to wait around alone, and he's in his own head. He begins to realise that he's very well the last Saiyan. There might not be any others alive. Alongside this, he doesn't even know the murderer of his planet's name, or why he did it. For now, all he can think of is revenge, wanting to find this man and kill him, for taking away his opportunity to know more about his heritage, and more about his past. But, for now, if his father, who from what Goku could see in a brief display is stronger than him, there's no way he stands a chance. After a while of being stuck in his own thoughts, eventually Thor returns and hands Goku a book. The Saiyan looks at it and then looks at Thor, and raising an eyebrow. Thor laughs, explaining that all the info that the Asgardians found out about the Saiyans has been kept in this book, and it will be the best way he can learn anything about his race. The Saiyan's face lights up as he thanks Thor so much, and is about to ask to be taken home to read it, which is where Thor explains that he will actually have to read it in Asgard. The book itself is not allowed to leave this planet, or this realm, so he will have to read it here, and Thor hopes he understands. Goku doesn't particularly mind, as he spends the next few days in Asgard reading about the race. He learns about the thing called the Great Ape Form, which is the giant monkey state. He confirms that the full moon is what does it. There is science behind it, but Goku doesn't mind for that too much. He does learn that it takes a lot of willpower and pride to be able to subdue the beast and control the state, something that Goku sees as a very useful thing to learn. He also learns that he will grow stronger after recovering from a near-death experience. Thinking back to a few times he has been close, he understands that might be true. And finally, they have an ability to harness an energy that they can weaponize. With Goku thinking back to what his father could do, his birth father, he wonders if he will be able to do anything about that. After all, his birth father, was able to kill a Leviathan with it. So he begins trying to practice that a small amount, getting some tips from the book, and slowly starting to pick it up. But the thing he's most interested in is something called the Super Saiyan, the thing Thor was telling him about. The power which gives any Saiyan to rival the gods, to shake the world around them, to make it so the Saiyan's wrath can't be stopped. Nothing else is known about it. However, it does only arrive once every 1,000 years. While reading the book, he often finds himself thinking about what he saw, wondering how he can find the Purple Man, but he mostly continues to read. It only takes Goku a few days to finish the book. With him having to take breaks to rest and eat, he manages to get through it pretty fast. While going through the book, he does find himself sneaking in a photo or two of pages, which he finds interesting and believes could be useful for him. But once he's done, he thanks Thor, telling him this has helped him a lot, and asks to be taken home. Thor, of course, is willing to do so, but says to the kid, he may not be the last Saiyan, and Thor will keep an eye out for any news of any other beings out there who resembles a Saiyan. But for now, he needs to keep his head high. He'll also investigate whatever the murderer of planet Vegeta was. After all, there were some Saiyans he quite liked, but obviously, now they're all gone. Goku thanks Thor, as the God of Thunder tells the kid to keep up with his training, and hopefully, maybe he'll become a Super Saiyan. Wouldn't that be a story? Goku laughs a little bit and thanks Thor once more, as he's sent home. But on the arrival, all he can think about is what happened, what he saw, and how he can avenge his race. But this thought can't be kept for too long, as it's interrupted, as Goku looks over to see Wanda, Petro, and his father walking out of the Avengers base. Goku looks confused as they do this. The trio look at Goku also a bit confused, and clearly a bit defensive. Goku asks what's going on, as Clint explains there's a fight coming up, and they're gonna need his help. Goku's confused, as Clint catches him up, as the few days that Goku has been gone, the events of Civil War, the opening scenes that is, have played out. Currently we are living through the recruitment section, and Goku has been thrown right in the deep end of it. Goku hears what had happened, and knows that he needs to intervene, but can't believe that they have managed to cause a war amongst the Avengers in only him being gone for not even a week. Goku agrees to help out his father and Cap, heads off, getting ready to play out his part in Civil War. But for Goku's story, that's where I'm leaving this part. However, I do want to make one quick trip into space. Back a few years, when the Guardians had first formed, we see a small change in Gamora and also Nebula. In this timeline, they are essentially the same. The pair still share the same relationship. But when Gamora was warning the Guardians about the threat that Thanos is, and also her sister, she warns them of one other being, her father's son, or should she say her brother, the last surviving Saiyan, known as Raditz, and has been working under Thanos for years. The Guardians can't believe that there's a Saiyan alive. Of course, the rest of the Guardians are interested, as they ask for any information about the Saiyan as they can get. Gamora explains that she doesn't know much. However, she heard the story that there was two Saiyans who tried to save their two kids. They were successful on one. However, after putting up a good fight against Thanos, both fell, and their other son was trapped. He didn't witness the murder of his parents thanks to being locked away in a pod. So when Thanos opened the door to see the kid, he embraced him, accepting him into his ranks, adopting him as his son. This was her older brother. And his name was Raditz. He's a ruthless killer who lives for the thrill of murdering anyone who defies him or his father Thanos. The group can't believe that not only is there a Saiyan alive, there's a possibility of a second one still being out there, and they ask why Thanos never searched harder for him. So Gamora explains that he got too far away, and Thanos didn't see the point in searching for one lowly child. After all, he had got one Saiyan, he believed that to be enough. The group hearing this are actually pretty scared of Thanos. Not only is he an impossible wall to kill, but also, if he's got a Saiyan on his side, that could spell disaster for any plan to take him out. Something not making sense in Rocket's head though, as he asks Gamora why Thanos even killed the Saiyans off anyway. Gamora takes a moment and explains that he never really spoke about his conquests on the planet, thanks to the fact he wanted to try and keep the annihilation of the Saiyan race behind Raditz's back, because he still doesn't know the murderer of his planet is the man who has been raising him for the last few years of his life. The group take this in, as Gamora then says, the reason that Thanos killed the Saiyans was out of fear. The Saiyans were things that could rival gods, according to legends, and if they could, his plan to bring balance to the universe could be thwarted by them if the Saiyans saw it as needed. They weren't do-gooders by any mean. However, Thanos is a strong opponent, and if a Super Saiyan was to have arisen, he could have taken down Thanos with ease. Thanos couldn't take that risk, and executed all Saiyans on planet Vegeta. The group can't believe it, but they can't dwell on it too much, as the Guardians begin to go back to doing a bit of good and a bit of bad throughout their two stories. Most things in them play out the same, just an odd conversation between Nebula and Gamora change a little bit. There's a small chance that Gamora might also have a few artificial augmentations, but for the most part I'm going to say she didn't. Thanos would probably only punish the person who came last, and if Gamora was winning against Nebula, she wouldn't win against Raditz, so she is still the same, and Nebula would probably have a bigger hate towards Gamora and her older brother. But that's where I'm leaving this part, with the civil war between Team Tony and Team Cap right around the corner. Let's see what happens in the next part. I'm sorry this part is super long. This was actually only supposed to be a 20-minute script of just like a setup for Civil War, and then I kind of had a bit of a fun idea and I wanted to roll with it, so that's what happened. But anyway, I hope people enjoyed. I'm sorry that my uploads have been shorter than normal. Not like video-wise, I mean, I only upload once every week now. It just works better for me. I can really stay ahead of videos and I can produce them to a higher quality that I prefer. But with all that being said, I do hope you enjoy. Have a great day or a good night, and hopefully I'll see you next time.